Hey guys, it is your friend Mike Brady from Oceanliner Designs, and today we are going to answer an important question. Why the Titanic cannot fly? That is right. Forget hydrodynamics, forget rivets, forget tragic iceberg encounters. We are going full aviation today, because if it floats, surely it can fly, right? I mean, a ship is basically a plane without wings if you squint hard enough and have a very relaxed relationship with physics. So let us put on our captain's hats, borrow some pilot goggles, and find out why Titanic will never, under any conceivable circumstance, take to the skies. Now, let us imagine for a moment a completely alternate history. It is 1912. The band is playing. The funnels are smoking, but instead of steaming out of Southampton toward the horizon, Titanic is rumbling down a runway. The passengers are sipping champagne while the ship slowly rotates nose up. The beautiful propellers worry. Through the clouds, flying past flocks of very confused seagulls. The captain announces over the intercom, "Ladies and gentlemen, we will be arriving in New York in just under 5 days, give or take a tailwind. The dream is majestic. The reality is that it is like trying to teach a cathedral to do a skiff flip. So how do real things fly? Flying requires lift, and lift comes from air moving over a wing-shaped surface, something designed to push air downward so the object itself goes upward. Titanic, bless her heart, has none of that. She is a floating brick with fancy paneling. The hull may be gorgeous for slicing through water, but to the air it is about as streamlined as a wardrobe tumbling down a staircase in slow motion. You could attach wings, yes, but they would need to be approximately the size of a small country. Let us say Wales, and the moment she left the runway, the wings would politely detach themselves and go find a more cooperative object to lift then. There is propulsion. Let us say you have the brilliant idea to strap a few jet engines to Titanic's funnels. It sounds good in theory. In practice, the funnels would melt, the deck chairs would vaporize, and the first gust of jet exhaust would send the grand staircase's oak paneling into low orbit. The sheer force of those engines would likely tear the ship into pieces before she even cleared the tarmac. Even if, by some miracle of engineering and divine intervention, Titanic survived the takeoff roll, she would still be slower than a budget airline delayed by 3 hours and a misplaced catering truck. Now let us talk about weight. A Boeing 747, that beautiful jumbo jet of the 1970s, weighs about 400 tons when fully loaded. Titanic, try 46,000 tons. That is 115 times heavier. You would need an engine the size of a mountain and a runway stretching from Southampton to New York just to get the thing off the ground. If you did manage it, the moment she touched down again, the landing gear, if we even dared to imagine one, would bury itself halfway into the Earth's crust. The world's first ship-shaped crater, even the ship's internal design works against. Flight, watertight compartments are wonderful for keeping water at bay. They are terrible for keeping air in. If Titanic were somehow lifted into the sky, those compartments would become nothing more than steel suitcases full of bowling balls. Dead weight, dragging her down faster than you can say. Please return your tray table to its upright position. And speaking of the passenger experience, I can only imagine what it would be like aboard Titanic Airlines. You walk into the first-class dining saloon, and instead of gentle sea swells, you are met with turbulence so severe the soup courses are making cross-table visits. The chandeliers swing wildly. The pianos in the lounge play entirely new avant-garde arrangements as they slide back and forth. The grand staircase turns into something between a slip and slide and a high-stakes game of human pinball. Even the most determined Edwardian traveller might decide that 5 days at altitude is 5 days too many. Now there is the argument, but what if we used rockets? Yes, we could theoretically attach enough boosters to Titanic to reach orbit. The problem is that the moment you light them, the structural integrity of the ship ceases to be a topic of debate. It simply becomes a shower of Edwardian mahogany raining down over the countryside. If by some cosmic fluke she survived the ascent, then congratulations. You have just invented the International Titanic Station, and I hope the passengers brought spacesuits. Because the promenade deck gets chilly at 300 kilometers above sea level, let us not forget the Concorde. Sleek, needle-nosed, supersonic, flying at twice the speed of sound. Titanic, slow, elegant, stately, sinking at the speed of sadness. In a race, Concorde wins every time. In dinner service, Titanic wins hands down. In a flying contest, Titanic loses spectacularly, possibly on fire. So could Titanic fly? No. Should it fly? Absolutely not. Would it be hilarious to watch someone try? Without a doubt. Titanic was made for the ocean. She was meant to glide across the waves, not barrel roll through the clouds. Some things are meant to float. Some things are meant to fly. Titanic floated for a bit. That is where her story belongs, right there in the water, surrounded by history, romance, and the occasional iceberg, if you are still not convinced. Just picture the takeoff checklist: lifeboat secured, wings attached, passengers seated, propellers spinning, engines roaring, then nothing. She just sits there on the runway like a stubborn cat refusing to move. Honestly, that is probably for the best, so the next time someone asks you whether Titanic could fly, and I sincerely hope that never happens, you will have the answer. Not unless the laws of physics take a holiday